If you'd have asked me a week ago what Nova Drift was, I'd have said I don't have a clue. And in hindsight, I don't know how I've never seen this before because it's been out in early access since 2019 and has a 98% positive review ratio on Steam, which for early access is pretty damn high. I'm going to talk about my impressions of my hours so far, but before I do, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Just to point out first, they do actually have a full roadmap for the game, which is kind of rare for an early access game. I really do like that. It shows that it's been properly thought out and they know exactly what they want to do with it. Unlike some games in early access that just kind of blunder their way through the years with no real direction other than make content. So a full roadmap is a big tick in the box for me, and I'm sure as a potential buyer, you will also like that, as it's a reassurance that it's still being worked on and thought about. But let's get more into the actual game itself. Nova Drift starts you off on the menu, obviously, where you can toggle your settings or look at all the unlock trees for your ship, and there are a lot of unlocks. Like, really. There are a lot. No, really. A lot of unlocks. You can then go into the game, and there's a few different game modes right now, as you can see, but they have already planned for the future game modes, which is always a nice thing to see, as you can kind of tell what they're going to be about just by looking at the names of them. And if that wasn't enough, even in early access there are modifiers, so if you want more of a challenge than a normal game, you can even make it harder for yourself. As I said on stream the other day, it feels a little bit like Asteroids, but mixed with some bullet hell type mechanics, and then also a little bit of roguelite thrown in there for good measure. It starts off very basic, like, oh, this isn't so bad, there's just little rocks I have to kill and maybe a couple of enemies, and then 20 minutes later you're just scooting around with 200 projectiles while trying to even just find yourself on screen, because there's just so many lasers and missiles flying around, you can't see what's going on. The way that the progression works in this game is the more ships you kill, you gain these little orb things that give you XP and score. When you level up, you get a skill point and you can put that into a skill tree, or you can use one of your rerolls if you don't want any of those, to try and get a better one, but you are limited on rerolls. The score that you get at the end of a run also levels up your progression system on your save, and you can then unlock entirely new trees and weapons from it, as well as super mods and wild mods. And these can range from helpful or a hindrance depending on the setup that you're going for on your ship, as I found out the other day when I could only fire my weapon from my rear thruster completely by accident. It's definitely got that addictive run style from roguelites. You die and then remember, oh yeah, I haven't actually had any of the drink I made 30 minutes ago. I should probably drink some of that. And then you go again for another run, and then another 30 minutes flashes by. It's definitely got the fun factor, and that's the biggest thing to look for in any game in my opinion. If it's not fundamentally fun, then why play it? Price-wise, it's kind of a surprise. It's £11.39 or $14.99, and in my opinion that's kind of cheap for what it is and not what I expected after playing it. Maybe once it's full release that may go up, but it seems like if this is your kind of game and you know that you'll get some hours out of it, I'd say that it's a steal to be honest, and if you're looking for something to fill the void right now, this could be it. The only real negative I can think of after playing it for a week is that the high scores aren't ranked online to see other players, but at the same time that usually welcomes in hackers if you enable that, who cheat and then have high scores, so I'm on the fence. Maybe do what Ghost Runner does and make it so that you can only compare scores between friends, and that way if your friend cheats you can go around to where he lives and shank him. So now you've seen and heard a little bit about the game, I want to go over the pros and cons from my experience so far. I'd say that the pros start with it being an overall fun game. It has a few genres mashed together, as well as a few roguelite elements that make it so that every time you play it, you can try something new and try and find your favourite builds, as well as allowing you to try beat your own high scores. I like that it's challenging also. The difficulty ramps up slowly, but once you reach that threshold, you are being bombarded from all sides, and it can be quite a tricky game to get better at as you try and figure out the most efficient way to use the weapons at your disposal. Price. Again, the price surprised me. It's quite cheap for what it is, and it seems like it will only get better in time due to the roadmap. I'd say that the final pro is the replay potential. As mentioned, your high scores and the unlocks allow you to keep trying new things as you level up and gather more power-ups and ship types. And the weapons and the progression system overall allow the replay potential to be a lot higher than what it otherwise would be if it gave you everything at once. The only real con that I can think of at the minute is the high scores. And I really hope that eventually, even if it's only between friends, that we get to compare them, as I think it would make for some competitive play between friends just to try and beat each other's high scores. Overall, I think Nova Drift is somehow an overlooked game in early access. The game concept is good, the music is somehow calming yet energetic at the same time, and it's relatively cheap in terms of other early access games. I would say definitely get this if you like the look of it after watching this video. You can easily sink an afternoon into trying to beat your own high scores, and I will most likely revisit this as a proper review once the final release version is released out of early access to see how it's progressed from now and see what features are in. But I think that pretty much wraps up this video, so I will see you for the next one.